Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and I saw Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves and it was great. Now I was pretty interested in this movie. I had never played Dungeons & Dragons before. I know what the game is and I can certainly see the appeal, it's just I've never played it before. But the trailers and all of the footage I saw for the movie made it look like a fun, entertaining fantasy action movie. And what also interested me was the fact that this was from the duo behind Game Night, which I find to be pretty funny. They went from one movie about playing board games to another movie about board games, But yeah, that movie is hilarious. I love it so much, and I was very interested to see how they would tackle yet another movie based on board games. And thankfully, they did not disappoint. I had a blast with this movie. This kind of exceeded my expectations. The story in here was pretty well done. Pretty much feels like a very long game of Dungeons and Dragons you're playing with your buddies, and that's what really works about it. You get the camaraderie and the fun and the excitement of the games through and through here. It really does feel like a fun night with your buddies playing this board game, and they really executed that aspect very well. And what also works is this world they were able to create. It's so inventive and imaginative and fun to explore with all these different contraptions and creatures all inhabiting this world. It's all very creative and wonderful to watch unfold on the big screen. The actual story itself, while there might be a lot going on in this movie, it never felt like that. It never felt way too convoluted or too much was happening all at once. It all felt organic and everything was coming together seamlessly, and it was executed very well. I was very engaged and I cared about a lot of the situations and scenarios that the characters had to go throughout the movie quite a bit. I was pretty fascinated to see how strong the story was executed here. The characters were really likable and charming as well. Their motivations were strong. They were all really funny. The banter and their dynamic between one another was really entertaining. And you could tell the actors were having a ton of fun working on this movie. Chris Pine was naturally charismatic and charming. Michelle Rodriguez was really fun. Justice Smith played this sorcerer who was terrible at his job, and he was pretty funny. Sophia Lillis had a cool character as well, but the two standouts for me were Hugh Grant and Reggae John Page. They were easily the funniest characters in the movie, and Reggae John Page had some standout sequences in this movie, and I wish that he was in it a bit more, but I understood why he couldn't be in the movie for much longer than he was. But Hugh Grant, man, he was having the time of his life. He was pretty much bringing the energy and the comedy of his villain from Paddington 2 and turning it up to 11. He was having so much fun and easily had some of the funniest moments in the whole movie. Speaking of comedy, this movie is hilarious. I laughed out loud and consistently throughout the whole entire thing. Just, again, a lot of the banter and the way these characters play off of one another was just written so well. A lot of these jokes were just really funny, and the certain situations the characters got into was all just pretty funny. The way these jokes were executed and the lines and quips were delivered just made me laugh out loud a lot. One of the standout scenes involves a scene at a graveyard. It is so funny and so well put together. That is all I will say about it. You just need to see the whole sequence for yourself. Trust me, it is the funniest scene in the whole movie. The action sequences in here were also really well done. They were well shot, well choreographed, a ton of fun, very, very fast-paced, energetic, some of which used long takes and were really well put together. There's one sequence in the end which, again, is a really long take, but it shows all the characters using all of their abilities all at once to take down a common enemy, and it was all really well done. It was easily one of the highlights of the movie. It was so well put together. Another solid thing about this movie are the special effects. This is a movie with a $150 million budget, and it definitely feels like that with the special effects, as the CGI on a lot of the creatures and various worlds they go into are very well done, but Also, what was really surprising is that the movie utilized a lot of practical effects. There were some puppets and costumes in here that I was surprised to see, and they were all done really well and super creative. The designs of some of these creatures and worlds were so, again, like I said before, imaginative and creative. I was really impressed with what they were able to do with that. But unfortunately, I do have a couple of issues that hold this movie back. First off, this is a pretty easy one. There were some jokes in here that really did fall flat. Some of them felt forced. Some of the quips and one-liners just really did not land, unfortunately. It's not a whole lot. It's maybe 20% of the 80% of jokes that do work. But yeah, when they stink, the bad jokes really stink, sadly. I also felt that the movie started to drag in the second half. It doesn't feel like the movie is way longer than it is, but there's a point where the film definitely starts to slow down. It does pick itself back up in the third act, but you definitely feel the pacing start to slow down, and the movie as a whole starting to slow down a bit in that second half. And my last complaint with this movie is in regards to the villain. Not that she was unlikable or bland or uninteresting, as she can be legitimately threatening and even at times very funny, but I felt like they didn't give her a whole lot to do here. We spent a lot more time focusing on the other characters that you kind of forget that she's in the movie for a bit, and anytime she pops up, you go, oh, right, there's a bad guy in here. And I wish we could have devoted a bit more time to her just to get her sense of presence and feel her more as a threat, really. But even with those flaws, I still had a really good time with Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. The story was great, the characters were lovable, the jokes were hilarious, the action was great, and the special effects, whether they be practical or using CG, were all done really well. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not a Dungeons & Dragons fan, I've never played the game, but I had a blast with this movie, so I really think this movie speaks on all cylinders. It's just a really fun movie. Whether you are a fan of this movie, you're probably going to get a lot of the Easter eggs and nods to the game that I didn't. Or if you're not a D&D fan and just looking for a good movie, I think you'll have a great time with this as well. I highly recommend it. Already one of the biggest surprises of the year. And those are my thoughts on Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. What did you all think of this movie? If you've seen it, did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links at the end of the video. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.
My friends are coming over to my mom's basement, bringing Funyuns and the Mountain Dew. I got a big broadsword made out of cardboard, and that stereo's a pumping Zeppelin. It's that time of the night, we turn on the black light, let the Dungeons and the Dragons begin. It's D&D.